Our next presentation today comes from EcoGraf Limited with Managing Director Andrew Spinks. Sir, you may please go ahead.
Oh, thanks for the introduction, and it's great to be with you. A quick overview, or a quick disclaimer to begin with on slide 2, and then moving on to slide 3, which is an overview of the company. We've been focused on developing a vertically integrated HF-free battery anode materials business. Over the last 8 years, we've spent $35 million developing 3 key business areas. Beginning on the right-hand side is a natural graphite project located in East Africa. This is a scalable mining project where we'll produce natural flake graphite for the traditional and battery market. Enormous amount of work has been carried out over the last 8 years to bring this project into a development ready project. We're working on a financing through KfW IPEX Bank, which is Germany's largest state-owned bank. Running in parallel to that, on the left-hand side is the battery anode materials business, where we take natural flake graphite and produce purified spherical graphite for the lithium-ion battery market using our unique purification process that eliminates hydrofluoric acid. We're planning to establish our first facility in Western Australia, and we're at a financing development stage for this facility. And thirdly, our central business case, as you can see, is the recycling, and that's utilising our proprietary purification process that we've developed, identical to the battery anode materials business, to recover carbon anode materials from lithium-ion battery recycling. The important aspect of our businesses is they are all standalone businesses. Both the natural graphite and the downstream battery anode materials business is development ready with financing underway. The other aspect is we've focused on markets ex-China, and that is very much centrally focused in Europe, Northeast Asia, and the US. Slide 4 provides an overview of our company, a corporate overview. We're listed on the ASX. We're currently trading at around 62 cents Australian, gives us a market capitalisation just under 300 million. We have a secondary listing on the Frankfurt, and I'm pleased to report that we're also pursuing a dual listing on the OTCQX, and that's very advanced, and we expect that listing very soon over the next 2 weeks. We've been focused on establishing our Kwinana facility in Western Australia, but we're also considering a second facility in Europe where we have a piloting plant. Our major shareholders are first Sentia, which has been a long-standing supporter of our developments, and also we've recently attracted Allianz Global and Paradise Investments. We've got $53 million in the bank and well funded to develop our businesses as outlined. The growth in the battery market is enormous, and I think most people are aware the transition to e-mobility and energy storage revolves around lithium-ion batteries. What a lot of people aren't aware of is that the anode, which is consists of largely graphite, natural spherical graphite, and synthetic graphite, is 50% of the battery. And this natural spherical graphite comes from China and uses a toxic HF process, which is really inconsistent with the new age demand and what we're expecting, what the end consumers are expecting. Our business is to develop a high purity, cost-effective alternate to this supply outside of China, and developing supply chains in Europe and Northeast Asia and the US market. A quick overview on slide 6 provides an overview of the European market, and there is unprecedented investment going in to support this transition. We've been in this market for a number of years. Our financing partner for the mine is KfW IPEX, and also we have our piloting plant just outside of Munich. We're very well connected with the European market. Our products are well known, and we're also expecting to establish our second facility in Europe as the demand over the next 4 to 5 years migrates out of Asia into Europe. Slide 7 gives an overview of the major US Gigafactories, which you're no doubt all very familiar with, and we're seeing a very similar effect in the US, where regionalisation of supply chains will require new supply lines, and we're very much positioning and thinking about this demand in the future. Certainly the positive news coming out of the US is very supportive of new supply lines, particularly with the US government announcing major support for supply lines and also supporting transitioning to electric vehicles. What has been very supportive of our developments is the European Commission recent policy regulation changes, and these have been announced over the last 12 to 15 months, and in particularly over the last 3 months has been greater emphasis on recycling. The days of landfilling batteries are over, and we're seeing greater legislation from the European Commission around greater recycling, but also legislation around sourcing responsibly sourced materials, traceability, lowering the carbon footprint, and that is really fits our business plan exceptionally well, our 3 businesses. So going on to an overview of our business on slide 9, which is an overview of our facility in Australia, which is going to be our first facility commencing with producing 20,000 tonnes of spherical graphite for the lithium-ion battery market using our eco-friendly, HF-free purification process. As you'd expect, we have done all the work programs you'd expect in terms of securing a debt financing process, that we're working with the Australian government through Export Finance Australia. We've completed feasibility studies, engineering designs. We've carried out significant optimisation programs as well. We've secured feedstock agreements through our partnership with Technographic, and we've signed our first offtake agreement with ThyssenKrupp. So really, we're very well positioned to bring this project into production. The capital cost estimate, as you see on the bottom left-hand side, beginning with the initial 5,000 tonnes is just over $22 million US, and the expansion is 15,000, which brings the total production to 20,000 tonnes, is an additional 49 million. The financial returns of this development is significant, as you can see at the bottom of the page. Slide 10 gives a diagrammatic overview. If anybody's interested to visit our website at ecograf.com.au, you will see a number of videos presenting a fly-through of our facility in Kwinana, and essentially the manufacturing of natural flake graphite through to spherical graphite revolves around 2 processes: a micronizing and spheronizing process, as you can see in the top right-hand side of the picture, and then a purification, which process that takes the material and purifies it to a very high level of 99.95. The development is very scalable and modular, and we're positioning the development as with the expectation of further growth. So this footprint can be further grown as demand increases, both in Europe, Northeast Asia, and the US. Slide 11 provides a very an overview of the Australian government support we've got for our development here in West Australia. We've received major project status from the federal government, and that is a significant recognition of our development and the importance of Australia seeing further value adding of their battery minerals in Australia. We've received lead agency from the state government here, and the photo on the right-hand side is of our Premier, Mark McGowan, and the Minister for Energy, Bill Johnson, with our Chairman and our Financial Executive Director. We've received the approval for the 6.7 hectare site to locate our facility on, and we're working, as I mentioned, around the debt financing process. We have the funds in place to bring the initial 5,000 tonne development into production. West Australia is considered a premium location and very well considered for a new supply of this material into the European market and the US market. And West Australia offers a number of key advantages around protection of IP and traceability around responsible sourcing of raw materials. So that's an overview of our downstream development to produce natural spherical graphite. I'd like to give a quick overview of our recycling business and opportunity, which utilises the same purification process that we've developed. And many may be aware that at the moment recycling efforts are really focused just on cathode metals at the moment, the nickel, the cobalt, the copper. There's very little effort at the moment on the recovery of the carbon anode materials, which, as I've outlined, is a significant portion of the battery, over 50%. There are two clear opportunities that we've identified. One is the production scrap of the production of these lithium-ion batteries, and also the recovery of the carbon anode material through end-of-life batteries, through the recovery of carbon anode material from after the hydrometallurgical processes have been undertaken. There are two significant benefits. One is lowering the EV carbon footprint, but also, more importantly, reducing the battery production costs, and I'll go into those two opportunities in a little bit further on in the presentation. The next slide, slide 13, provides an overview of our chemical process. It's a multi-step chemical process. It does not use hydrofluoric acid. There are no toxic residues or issues with the aqueous or solid residues with this process. The facility can be located in any industrial park globally, and all the consumables that we use are available in industrial parks, whether it's in West Australia here in Kwinana or Europe, Northeast Asia, or the US. The recovery of the carbon anode material provides an opportunity to reuse this material in those markets I've identified. Slide 14 provides the results we've received to date, and the results are very exciting. We've tested a number of samples over the last 12 months, both on the production scrap and the black mass, and it's really exciting that we've been able to take the production scrap off the shop floor, the manufacturing floor, pick that material up, and we've achieved grades of 99.95, which is important because that is the key grade required to bring this material back into the cell manufacturing. We're also working on the black mass, and we've achieved grades of 99.83 at this stage. And the work is ongoing, and we're working with partners across the globe. Slide 15 provides an overview of our first partnership that we've signed with Sungil High-Tech. They are one of the largest lithium-ion battery recyclers in Asia. They're located in South Korea. They currently recycle 18,000 tonnes, and this year they've got plans to increase to 54,000 tonnes. So there is going to be a lot of material for recovering the carbon anode material, which is currently going into landfill. We see our EcoGraf recycling purification as part of the solution, the circular solution, back into the battery through collaboration with lithium-ion battery manufacturers, and also leadership shown by electric vehicle manufacturers wanting to see this material come back into the battery and support the circular economy that is being emphasised by the car manufacturers themselves, but it's being legislated by government authorities. The production scrap market is a significant market. This slide provides a overview of the battery cell production and yield and loss. And in the early years, we're seeing up to 30% loss in production loss, and a longer term target from the battery cell manufacturers of 10%. So as this market expands, there's going to be a significant volume of material coming back as waste, and our purification has a significant opportunity and economic benefit. If we can demonstrate to pick this material up and put it back into the battery, it has a significant economic benefit to the battery supply chain. But more importantly, I should say as well, it has an enormous impact on lowering the carbon emission footprint. The battery in an EV represents over 40% of the total carbon emissions footprint. And if we can look at recovering the waste from production scrap and putting that back in, and the longer term aspiration of reusing the recovered black mass, this will go to a significant contribution in lowering the carbon emissions footprint, which is a very topical and hot topic at present in both the US and Europe. The other unique opportunity that we've developed over the last 12 months is a blended anode material, where we take our battery spherical graphite produced through our manufacturing facility and blending it with the recovered anode material to really provide a unique, clean, green alternative that will present a very attractive opportunity for the supply chain partners to support both lowering the production costs but also the carbon emission. Our next step in the battery recycling is we're working towards developing a modular, containerized recycling piloting plant, and we're working on establishing the capital cost. We've got funds to establish this piloting plant, and working with a number of customers to look at supporting their recycling objectives. Slide 19 gives an overview of our natural flake project in East Africa, Tanzania, and this is the third business. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we've completed all the work that you'd expect to attract debt financing. We've completed a banking feasibility study. We're one of the only projects that have completed independent due diligence for the debt financing process that we have running. And we see this as a very significant mine-to-market opportunity to run in parallel with our existing sources of feedstock for our downstream. The development cost you'll see in the bottom left bottom corner is just under 90 million US, of which we're pursuing 60 million US in debt through our debt financing. And again, the capital returns are very significant. We've got three of the largest traders in two of the largest markets outside of China, with sales and offtake agreements for our material. And this is development ready again, and we're working with the Tanzanian government to finalise the framework agreement for the financing process. And the good news in Tanzania is that process is continuing, and we remain very confident with our offtake partners and financing partners that this project will come into production. So finally, the last slide, which provides an overview of the value proposition, which is very compelling for this emerging new market. Both the downstream and the mine have been developed around realistic production aspirations, and we see enormous growth both in both developments. And the opportunity there is very much to scale up our production in Tanzania to increase production much greater than the initial production. 60,000 tonnes represents about 8% of the market, the natural flake graphite market, and we can scale this up to multiple times higher. There's an enormous amount of graphite at our Panko project that will continue for decades, and the prospect of those financial returns increasing will certainly increase as the project demand increases for natural flake graphite. Our downstream business, 20,000 tonnes, is around 5 to 10% of the existing market, and we see this is very much the beginning and very much scalable. And we've already outlined a second facility in Europe, and we're thinking about a third in Asia and the US as this market and regionalisation of these hubs are developed. And although it's early, we've got a significant work program underway on the recycling to recover the carbon anode material, and it's really attracting a lot of interest within the supply chain of EV manufacturers and battery manufacturers to support greater recycling, which is really an important topic and something that is being legislated and something that will have to be undertaken in the future. So thank you very much for your time, and very much welcome anybody visiting our website, signing up to our newsletter on the website. We believe the future is electric. So thank you very much, and back to you, Keith.
Thanks for your time today. That wraps up today's event. Thank you.